Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So initially this week I was going to release another video from my recent travels to Europe, and then I stopped and thought to myself, I'm trying to inspire all these people to travel the world, but one of the hardest things about traveling is packing. And if packing isn't hard enough, it's figuring out what items go into your carry-on versus your luggage. So today I'm going to sit down and talk to you guys about my 30 airplane essentials. And this list took me quite some time. It was quite a trial and error process. I mean, there have been quite a few trips I've gone on before I really perfected this trip. So I'd love to share it with you guys. So my number one thing that I need to have while I'm traveling is a comfortable backpack. I know girls like to carry their purses and stuff, and I have done that initially, but it definitely takes a toll on your back, especially when you have to run from one gate to another, one terminal to another, and if you're me, then your gates are always on the other side of the airport. So recently, actually last week, I went out and I bought this backpack. It's super cute. One of the things I look for when I get a backpack is that are the straps comfortable and is it spacious? And you know, the plus about this backpack is that it's super cute as well. I actually got this from the Fossil store, but honestly, it doesn't matter what backpack it is. I've used Adidas backpacks, Nike, JanSport, anything that's comfortable works. Another thing that I always need to have with me when I'm traveling is my crossbody. So I love traveling with this crossbody, and if you follow me on Snapchat, or Instagram, you will always see this crossbody with me. And funny story, when I was on my honeymoon, of course, I had over 7 crossbodies that I took with me, and this was my husband's favorite. Not because of the way it looks, not because of the brand or anything with that. It was the fact that it could fit all of my essentials and his. So he really hated it when I would take any other crossbody because it would barely fit my things. And the one thing I always look for in a crossbody is it spacious and is it comfortable? So a lot of crossbodies have those metal straps, and this took me a while to learn as well. And those metal straps, they literally, if you sweat the slightest, they leave like little red marks in your back and they're super uncomfortable. So just get a crossbody that's super comfortable, has these leather kind of straps, and spacious enough. I mean, you don't need to get those super large ones, and you'd be surprised at how many things I can fit into this one. So for my next 28 things, I'll be splitting them into whether they fit into my crossbody or whether they fit into my backpack. So the next thing I always have on me when I'm traveling, especially internationally, of course, is my passport. This is one of my biggest fears, forgetting my passport. So before I used to live in Houston, and the airport was an hour and a half away from my house, and with traffic it took 2 hours, and if I were to ever forget my passport, well, guess who's missing their flight? Now it's a little nicer because I do live 10 minutes away from the airport. I can actually see the runway lights from my balcony. Close, so it wouldn't be as deadly, but this is my biggest fear, forgetting my passport. So remember, always have yours. Another thing I always have on me when I'm traveling is a wallet. So I know regularly on a day-to-day basis, we have those large wallets that have our Costco cards or our, like our tapioca stamp cards or a million other cards like our grocery store reward cards and stuff. But when you're traveling, you don't need those large wallets. So I like to carry this small, compact little wallet. I put my ID in there, my debit card, my credit card, and it has like 4 slots. And for my 4th slot, I leave it for my hotel room key cards. And the middle, it has like a little bit of space, so I love putting my cash in there. And then, so this is like a really small wallet that like fits into your crossbody super easily, and you still have space for a million other things. Another thing I always have when I'm traveling, actually, I have this whether I'm traveling or not traveling, is my wet wipes. I have these stashed in my car, in my drawers, in my purse. I cannot live without these. And honestly, you can get these from the dollar store. In Canada, they're $1.25. In the US, I used to get them for $1. But you don't need to go to Walgreens and buy those $2.99 ones that have 10 wipes. These have 40 wipes in there. They're super cheap, and I live for these. So when you're in the plane, you don't always have time to before eating a meal, you don't have time to go wash your hands, or after a meal, of course, you're in a really crowded space, it's really tight spaces. So it's always great to have wet wipes on you, and planes aren't exactly the cleanest. So it's nice to be able to just wipe your space down. And I know some people, are okay with carrying hand sanitizer, which is great. For me, I just don't like the idea of rubbing germs on my hands. So I love these wet wipes, and these are definitely my go-tos. Another thing I always have when I'm traveling is my lip balm. Another thing I always have on me when I'm traveling is my lip balm. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. I love getting this Nivea lip balm. You can get it from CVS or Walgreens. Anything that like prevents your lips from getting chapped in the plane. So I love carrying this. And with that, I also love carrying my lotion when I'm traveling because your hands get really dry in the plane. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy, just anything less than 3.4 fluid ounces because you can't be carrying those big bottles. I prefer carrying lotions that have shea butter in them just because they last a little longer. Your hands feel softer for a little bit longer, especially because the plain air is very dry. It's just nice to have them. Of course, I'd apply it right now. This is the Victoria's Secret one. I just love the smell of it, so I got it. Nothing special. Another thing I always have when I'm traveling is my perfume. Please do not spray perfume while you're sitting in the plane. You don't know what allergies people have and stuff, so please be mindful of that. But this is more for when you land and you're already, like, you know, you're in the middle of a layover and you go to the restroom, so you can, like, spray perfume on, or when you exit the airport, you know, a spray or two to make yourself feel better, smell nicer. So I love carrying my little small tiny travel size perfume with me. Another thing I always have is a face mist, a dewy face mist. This is like thermal spring water. I got this from Japan, so I don't know where you would get this, but this is the Tatcha Luminous Dewy Skin Mist, and I love this one as well. I usually spray this, you know, when the pilot makes the announcement, we're about to do our initial descent. I just spray this on my face. It kind of wakes me up. It makes me feel a little fresher. So I love taking my skin mist with me, one or the other. I don't usually carry both, especially in my carry-on. The next thing I always have when I'm traveling are frost mints. Honestly, they can be any mints, but it's like when you're sleeping in the plane for some time and you wake up and your mouth feels gross and disgusting and you don't always have the luxury of going to brush your teeth. So I love carrying mints on me. Plus, they're just fun to eat. So I love carrying these frost ones. They can be any ones, but I just love these. The next thing I always have on me are a bunch of hair ties when I'm traveling. So usually when I'm at the airport, I like to leave my hair down, but once I get into the plane, I like to tie it up because the airplane air, like I said, is very dry and it dries out my scalp. So it's always great to carry hair ties, and I always carry a bunch because, you know, they break and we lose them. And it's always nice to tie up your hair when you are in the plane because your scalp, you'll notice a huge difference in your scalp, especially if you're taking an international flight. The next thing I always have on me when I'm traveling is my glasses. So generally at airports, I like to have my contacts on, but once I get into the plane, I take off my contacts because, you know, if you leave them on for especially an international flight, your eyes get irritated, they get dry, so I always carry my glasses with me. The next thing I always have when I'm traveling is a pen. So you'd be wondering, why do you need a pen when you're traveling? You have no idea how long it took me to start remembering to take a pen, and this is one of my essentials. So generally when you're taking an international flight, you always have to fill out those disembarkment forms, and this pen will make a world of a difference because, you know, I'm always that person that, like, asks the person next to me or 10 rows down, and sometimes I find nobody to ask for a pen, and then I have to wait until I land, and when I land, I usually go to, like, you know, passport control, and sometimes there's pens laying around there, and sometimes there honestly isn't, and you just have to run around asking people. And by that point, the passport control line has gotten insane and super long. And this not having a pen has led me to stand in the passport control line for 2+ hours before, which is absolutely insane because once you get into a new country, all you want to do is go out and explore. And if you're coming home, all you want to do is get home. So a pen will make a world of a difference. The next thing I always have are my earphones. It's always great to have earphones, of course, you know, just to listen to music while you're in the plane or at airports, or to tune out the person next to you because they're chewing really loudly. And I know they give those little entertainment TVs on the plane, and I know they do provide headphones, but those aren't the most comfortable, so I like to take my own. And if you do have like an iPhone 7, 8, or 10, just remember that the jack of your headphone will not fit into the ones in the plane, so make sure to carry 2 different headphones. I've definitely made that mistake before. Actually, I made that mistake recently when I was traveling to Morocco and stuff, so make sure you're aware of that. The next thing I always have when I'm traveling is my battery pack. Actually, I have this on me all the time. I got this battery pack, like it's an Anchor battery pack. I got it from Amazon. I believe like 4 years ago. It was $32. It was super cheap. My brothers have it. My mom has it. We all love this battery pack. It gives me 4 100% charges. And the last thing you want is that you land and your phone is completely dead and you're running around the airport trying to find a plug-in to charge your phone. Because when you land into an international country, chances are you need to call an Uber, you need to check the currency exchange rate, or, you know, not a lot of countries. There are some countries that English isn't their first language and you need to use Google Translate. Well, if your phone isn't charged, then there's definitely a problem there. The last thing I always put in my crossbody when I'm traveling is my cell phone. Do I really need to say anymore? I mean, seriously, if you're traveling and you don't have your phone, you can't check it on Facebook. You can't post Instagram pictures. You can't Snapchat. You can't let the world know you're taking a trip. Are you really even taking a trip then? Because if the world doesn't know, it didn't happen. So make sure to always have your phone on you. Alright, so the rest of my list I'll be talking about are things that I actually put into my backpack. So some of the things that I put into my backpack are a bunch of masks. I love carrying sheet masks, eye masks, lip masks, all sorts of masks. It keeps me occupied on the plane, and honestly, it makes a world of a difference for my skin, especially if I'm taking an international flight. You know when you land and then you go to your hotel and you take a shower and stuff, and then you're about to go out and you put on makeup, and your foundation just kind of has like this layer on top of your face, or your concealer doesn't blend? It's because your skin's shriveled up or it's just dry, and it's because of the airplane air. It's super, super dry. So it's always best to put on sheet masks and stuff while you're in the plane. Plus, it's a good source of entertainment, right? So I love having sheet masks on me. Another thing I always have are Kleenexes. As much as I love my wet wipes, that's why I keep them in my crossbody, I still love to have Kleenexes in my backpack, just in case of a spill. You know, somebody spills their Coke, you spill your Coke, or your Coca-Cola, or your water or anything. It's just nice to have Kleenexes on you, because sometimes air hostesses are busy and they can't get to you quickly, so you need to carry your own set of Kleenexes. Another thing I always have are socks. I love fuzzy socks. Planes are really cold, and the first things to get cold are my feet. So the moment I get into a plane, I take my shoes off and I put on my fuzzy socks, and they definitely keep me warm. The next thing I always have when I'm traveling is a Polaroid. No, I don't sit in the plane and take Polaroids of myself. I just love having them when I go to different countries. I like taking a Polaroid in each country and then sticking it on my fridge. But I'm definitely not putting this in my luggage, so I just like to put it in my carry-on bag just to make sure it's not damaged. The next thing I always have is my Kindle. I like to keep myself occupied, and you know, there's so many movies you can watch and so much you can sleep. So it's definitely another thing to do, and I love reading. So I love carrying my Kindle with me. Currently it's dead, but I love carrying it, and you know, it's better than carrying like 10, 12 different books. I can just put it on here. The next thing I always have is my laptop. I love carrying my laptop with me when I'm traveling. Before, when I used to travel while I was in school, I loved having it because then I used to do my homework and stuff on the plane. Now it's just one of those things. I like to do research and stuff, or we like to offload our footage and stuff from our travel film, so we need to have our laptops on us, and I can't put it in my luggage, so it's just one of those things that stays in my carry-on bag. The next thing I always have are oral hygiene products. So my toothbrush, a small little toothpaste, this one's almost out, some floss, and my mouthwash. These are like little bottles that I just pour it in. I get these from the dollar store. They're super cheap. And, you know, I know we can't always get the chance to go brush our teeth on the plane. Sometimes when the lines are like no longer there, I just go and brush my teeth when it's like an 8+ hour flight. Or generally when you are traveling internationally, you generally do have a layover in the middle. So I like to go to the bathroom during my layover and brush my teeth, freshen up, feel a little better about myself. And that's why I always have my face wash on me too, so I can wash my face, I can moisturize my skin. This is a travel size face wash. It's the Fresh Soy Face Cleanser. I love this cleanser. Or the Tatcha Silk Cream. I love this silk cream because it's super moisturizing. And I also have my deodorant on me. I like to go, you know, after like 4 hours on the flight, I like to go and just put on some deodorant, or during my layover. This is the Tarte Clean Green deodorant. I like this deodorant because it's super small and compact, and you can't just carry large sized bottles of stuff. You just have to make sure, because you know, your backpack is still very small. I mean, it can be as spacious as you want it to be, but you don't want to put all that weight on your back. So it's just nice to carry travel size things. I also have my contact solution in my contacts case because, like I mentioned, I like to take my contacts off once I get into the plane. So I always carry these two things. The next thing I always have is my blanket. If you follow me on Snapchat, you know that whenever I'm traveling, I generally have a blanket draped over me. And back in the day, I used to take those large blankets and just like have it draped over my back. But now, of course, I've decided to take more of a minimalistic approach. So I carry the small, tiny blanket. And I know on international flights, they give blankets. But first of all, they're not comfortable. Second of all, I don't know how clean they are. So I like to carry my own. And this one like is super tiny. So it like rolls up. Of course, I didn't roll it up properly, but it like rolls up into a really small ball, and then you can just fit it into your backpack if you don't want to carry it on your shoulders like me, like a cape. I just bought this from an airport, and it's super, super comfortable, so I love this. The next thing I always have is my neck pillow. Not all of us fly first class. If you're me, you're definitely not flying first class. So you have like that little tiny space, and if you fall asleep and you don't have a neck pillow, it definitely takes a toll on your neck and your back, and it just hurts. So it's always great to have a neck pillow when you're traveling. This neck pillow has been with me to 24+ countries, so I have quite an attachment to this neck pillow. As you can see, it's quite tattered. My mom recently had to like stick on new buttons because they broke, and last night my husband had to like sew this latch on because it was completely ruined, but I just refuse to let it go. I know neck pillows are like $10, $12. I could go buy another one, but I just have a sentimental attachment to this neck pillow. I love carrying it around, so this is definitely a must-have for me. And the last thing I always have on me when I'm traveling are snacks. I love carrying my chewy granola bars, my veggie chips in a little Ziploc bag, or my gummy bears. First of all, it gives me something to do. Second of all, I don't like eating large meals in the plane. I know they give them, but I don't like eating them. I'll eat around it. Like I'll have like the bread or the cheese or the chocolate, but I just don't like having such heavy meals. And I love having snacks in the plane. It keeps me going, especially because sometimes I have taken 22+ hour flights, yes, straight. So it's just nice to have your own snacks on you. And you can't always find stuff at the duty free. Like I can never find veggie chips at the duty free, so I need to take those with me. So it's just one of those things I need to have. Let me just say it, like I said earlier, it took quite some time to perfect. I remember initially I'd take too many things, and then later on I was like, well, I'm taking too many things, so I wouldn't take enough stuff. But I think I've got it down. I think I've really got it down this time around. Let me know in the comments below if there are things that you guys always need to take when you're traveling that I didn't mention on this list. And make sure to hit the like button and make sure to subscribe. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye!